Everybody, hey, yo, what's up? Welcome, everybody. Welcome home, everyone. Welcome home. Gather around, chill and gather around. We're having a fabulous start to this new year, and I hope you are too. It's been an interesting few weeks. Welcome back, everybody. Time to get cozy around the fire, wherever the hell you may be cheering, because actually, it's a lovely warmer day today, so I'm going to be sweating my balls like Richard Nixon, but I hope everyone else is not. And actually, we're going to be jamming into the Ether studio in about 60 to 90 seconds, because we had something little planned, a little special for you, Sharon, because New York City is here in Barcelona now. At least a portion of it for those who have their dancing shoes on. And Sir Tyler, who is repping the Arthur Murray Dance Studio Barcelona here, right here in Gracia, not too far from us, is joining us. And we're going to be doing a deep dive into that right now, because you already know good and hardworking gents are hard to find, and the brother had a little bit of a snafu smithereens situation with his schedule, and so he's going to be joining us with the VMix link, and we're so proud of that. And thank you, Liam, my tech brother, for making this happen. Quick side note, everybody, want to get you onto the Al Gore's interwebs, because things are a-changing. And we're going to get to that later on in the show. We might even have a smidge of a touch of that with Mr. Tai Tai, but we're going to be here repping the Arthur Murray Dance Studio here now in Barcelona. Everybody, I launched a podcast at the end of last year with my homegirl designer, Kelly Ellis. You can catch her new show as well all over Good TV here on Europe, on Rakuten and Pluto and all places like that, and the Design Network as well. Her show is called Extravagant Spaces. Our podcast show is called Design Meets Live Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as IGG, Instagram. And also, babies, follow me, man. Follow me, yo. You can catch us at the club with Lucas on Instagram, and we'll be popping off on tomorrow, actually on Sunday, on Blue Sky, because we're off at X. We're taking off ourselves off Twitter. Of course, you can also follow us on Facebook at the English Radio Barcelona, and catch all the jams and everything that's good here in English for you in Barcelona and Catalonia on 106.9 FM and RCE.cat. However, you can also catch us with your peepholes right now at YouTube at RCE 106.9 FM, but I'm going to dive in right now with Sir Tyler from Arthur Murray Dance Studio. Sir Tyler, are you there?
Sure. Good morning.
Hey, look at him, and he's looking flash and snazzy. Now, we really want to have you flash and snazzy one day here in the studio, but it's so good to see you, my brother.
Thank you. Feeling fabulous.
You are fabulous.
Saturday morning.
Yes.
Or how do you say it in Spanish? Sábado.
Pues es feliz sábado de verdad, or feliz de sábado por favor in Catalonia, but it's so good to see you, man. And I'm seeing that you are actually within the confines of the studio. Talk to us. Let's dive right in. Because what is going on over there? Because you have early sessions today. I mentioned there was a little smithereen snaffaroo situation with the time. What are you doing this morning? Tell the good people, because I said a good, hardworking gent is hard to find, and you're one of them. You're doing double duty.
Thank you. So this morning we have our open combo class. So students of all levels come, and they get to dances from all over the world, whether it's paso doble, flamenco, English waltz, Viennese waltz, Argentine tango, American cha-cha. We just do it all, and it's always on Saturday morning. So,
okay,
we're just prepping for the day.
Well, that is just one of the many things that you guys are doing there at Arthur Murray Dance Studio. By the way, could you correct me, please? What is the actual address of the studio? Because I want to give that out right now. It's in Gracia, near the Fontana Metro Station.
We're Carrer de Berga.
Okay.
34, so 34 de Berga.
Okay, 34 Calle Berga. Now, for my Latino brothers and sisters, some of you are probably laughing right now. But because of the name Berga, because it means something else in other countries.
I know the double meaning. I heard.
Of course
You're
he
so
does.
Gay.
I'm not
God, so
gay.
Gay.
I'm so gay. I just can't stand it. Now, wait a minute.
You're so gay.
But also, we have to talk a little bit of deep dive about not only what brought you here, because you are repping Arthur Murray Dance Studio out of New York City here in Barcelona, but I also want to get to why Barcelona. What moved you here in the first place? We're going to dive in, because I can steal him for about 15-20 minutes, kids, and then we're going back into the show. So, my love, tell me what got you here, please.
So the studio I represent, Arthur Murray, has been around for over 100 years. Exactly. We're the oldest dance studio in America. Yeah. And we're very international. We have studios all the way from Japan to Italy, to London, to New York, all the way to San Francisco. And we opened in Barcelona last fall.
Wow.
So we have been open almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're
Mm-hmm.
getting our footing in Spain. It's a new frontier for us, so we're very excited.
How has
Yeah.
that been? Sorry to
And
interrupt really quickly, my dear. How has that
mhm,
been with that? Because you have such a strong basis in so many different styles, which is what's so impressive to me. Coming from the States, coming from New York City, and then doing that
yeah.
in Spain. How has
Mhm.
that transition been for you, my brother?
So it's interesting because Spain has such a strong cultural force in the dance community with all their sevillanas and
Hmm.
flamenco and also paso doble from different regions of Spain. But Catalonia specifically also has its very specific dance styles.
Yeah.
So with ballroom dancing, it's very international. We pull from all cultures of all the world and we
Mm.
kind of get to like pull it into one little community. So it's really nice. It's been very like eye-opening to the
Hmm.
people of Barcelona. Also, like the very strong Catalonian culture here and their
Yes.
background and their take on dance. So it's really fun for me. You know, I'm just like a little farm kid from Utah.
Well, I don't want to talk
Moved
about
to New
that
York.
too. I mean, how do you,
Yeah.
you're doing exactly what you love, and
Uh-huh.
you're doing it here in Europe, hailing from the grand state of Utah. Originally, of course, you're coming through by way of New York City as well and repping Arthur Murray. But I mean, it couldn't be more night and day difference here now doing what you're doing and coming from Utah. Can we talk just for a couple of minutes about that, if that, with your
For
permission?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm from Utah, which has a very strong Mormon culture,
Hmm.
the Latter-day Saints, and kind of like an approved form of like dating and socializing is ballroom dancing.
Okay.
So there's a really huge ballroom culture where I come from, which is kind of
I
funny.
did
Like you
not
don't
know
think
that.
about it.
I did not know
But
that.
yeah, so like all the kids from the time they're like little, like 6 years old, start dancing in school and they work their way through junior high and high school doing ballroom dancing. And we have scholarships to university and such. And then they, graduate and go off and work in studios like Arthur Murray. So when I turned 18, my dad kind of sent me to New York to kind of like pursue this dance career. And yeah, I found Arthur Murray and really fell in love with like the international circuit.
Hmm.
My first trip was actually to Barcelona and we did like a international competition here
So a few years
and
back.
yeah, a few years back. And so
Wow.
all of my students came with me and we danced here in at the W Hotel, like all ritzy and fun. We got dressed up to the nines and we're, dancing at this competition. And I just kind of fell in love with the idea of Europe.
Hmm.
And with the studio, it's an easy way to like come over here. So
Yeah, man.
last year we opened the studio and now I'm here kind of taking the step forward in my career and both with and expanding Arthur Murray. So
Uh,
yeah.
well, thank you for doing that and congratulate and wrapping that up so succinctly. All of this will be clipped and thrown on Instagram at some point. Now, the
Oh, I
who's, the
love it.
what's, the wheres. There's so much that you guys did, and you rattled off a couple of those names earlier at the beginning of the interview. How the hell is it? I guess if you have that background in ballroom dancing, I guess it makes
Yeah.
sense. I'm actually shocked because I also was raised incredibly in a very strict religious Judeo-Christian household, and dancing was not necessarily frowned upon, but it was not necessarily accepted either, except kind of ballroom and jazz dancing because of my mother. So I'm not surprised, but I am surprised to hear that because I would think Mormons were even more stringent than that. But how did you learn so much of a lot of these Spanish dances? I guess part of it has just had to come through your training and moving here, I'm wondering.
Yeah, so one of the categories you enter in the ballroom is the Latin division. So you're dancing dances like cha-cha, samba, rumba bolero, paso doble, and then the American jive. But it's like very international. So you're studying for dances from all different parts of the world, but you're kind of putting it into one category of like technique and skill, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's kind of how like a little white kid from Utah gets into all the Latin dances. But it's even more so when you enter Arthur Murray, you move away from the competition circuit more into the social circuit,
Hmm.
and you are connecting with people based on cultural influence and background, right? So I'm meeting people from all over the world, and like the best thing about dancing is it's very you don't need to know a language, you don't need to know certain words. It's nonverbal, right? You're
Yeah.
communicating through body and movement. And so I suck at Spanish. I'm learning, but I'm so slow. I'm a little bit of a dummy in that way. But I can connect with people of the Latin culture or Spanish culture through movement
Mm.
and through dance. So it's really unique and awesome that way.
You know what? It almost sounds, the way that you're describing it, it sounds like it at least evokes a type of therapy. Because when you
Oh,
can
for sure.
administer that type of energy just through the dance, through the body movement, and for knowing the touch of the body and those steps,
Yeah.
it gives a payout actually to how this Austro-Hungarian Jew started, Arthur Murray started this because he was teaching ballroom dancing, as I recall, to help patients, in a physical therapist type of way. And then you have incorporated, not necessarily you're doing therapy, but to me, I felt dancing was always a release, which is like therapy. And so,
Well, for sure. And I grew up also very religious, and one of my
yeah.
favorite proverbs is that you celebrate in song and dance, right?
Hmm,
And it's it's a lot like
I forgot
yoga in the
that.
way that you're combining a spiritual side with a physical side.
Yes, sir.
So for people who are not religious or who have moved away from religion, it's really healing because it's a way to connect with that part of yourself that's not necessarily organized or like exclusive. It's inclusive
Totally
in
get
that
it.
way.
Totally. Which
So
sometimes our religious centers can be. And your center focuses on bringing people together. And one of the things that you've done that you and I spoke of over a month ago now is
mhm.
a lot of the other teachers and trainers and educators of dance that you have there, they are young locals.
Oh, for
And
sure.
and you see that type of environment and the differences. What are some of the interesting things that you've learned from your fellow compatriots there?
Yeah, well, it's fun to be around young people because they're
Excuse me,
so
you are young.
no,
Hello.
but the crew here is very young, like they're very fresh, they're very green, and
Wow.
it's nice to see youth like with such like a hunger for dance.
Amen.
Number one, they're
I hear that.
passionate, and then also I think we have so many different generations just in our studio. We have my youngest student is 6 years old, and my oldest is almost 100. Right, so you bring multi generations into one space. It's really special, and they can all
Wow.
connect with each other. And you don't do that on your day to day life. You know, like how often are you going out with like the abuela next door who's in her 90s, or talking about like the love affair she had 40 years ago, right? Like,
I get
it's
to do that,
really,
but I hear you. Not most people. I hear
it's a
you.
way for people to connect back with who they are, and it doesn't matter your age or your skill set. It's just a way to connect through art and movement and storytelling, which is really
Hmm.
beautiful. You know, you think of these songs too that we're moving to. These are some of like the great musicians of our generation
Hmm.
or of past generations, and we reconnect with this music through song and dance. It's really special and it's really unique, you
Uh,
know.
uh,
Besame Mucho, for example, is
mm.
like international. Everyone knows the song. Everyone resonates with the song. It touches so many different parts of your
Oof,
heart,
child. Yes,
and
Lord.
we all just get to come together and enjoy it. It's like going to a concert, you know, when everybody's just vibing, and it's really cool.
You are forcing me to come for a session, darling. This is one
Yeah,
of the
you
things
better.
I
I'm here.
know.
Let's go.
Right? It's going to happen. Don't worry. Definitely. One of the things is, you are a working performer, you're an instructor, an educator. How important is it for you to keep? I mean, I always ask certain entertainers, specifically they come from the U.S. and the U.K., Australia, the Five Eye countries, because our work
Uh-huh.
ethic can sometimes be a little bit non-Mediterranean. So, how is it
Oh,
for
for
you
sure.
to keep that work ethic
That's
going
actually
and
I think
imbuing
that's the
that?
healthiest. That's the healthiest part of Barcelona
Yes,
and
sir.
Catalonia, right?
Hmm.
Is that people work very hard here, but
Yeah.
they understand life and work-life balance in a way that's just not American. So America is very much about the work culture. When you go out for drinks, you're talking about work, you're talking about your career, you're talking about the next steps. And
Mm.
people here are equally as ambitious, but when it's time to relax or to enjoy life or connect with family and friends, that is priority. And I think it's been so healthy for me coming from New York City, which is
Yeah.
like 7 days a week, go, 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 to come to Barcelona and work equally as hard, but also have time and take space for family and community and friends has been really rejuvenating. And I think anybody who moves from the States to the Mediterranean would agree with that. Like, you feel like this sense of ease, but also that you're still achieving your goals,
I
you
do.
know?
I do. I do. And you're telling me, you're actually talking to me right now, because I found it rather difficult as a child who grew up with workaholics to stop being a workaholic and incorporate that. And it's only recently that I'm starting to see the necessity of that. I'm wondering, since we
It's
mentioned, please speak.
Well, on that note, too, it's funny because now I have a lot of students who are from Spain who
Hmm.
are working for American companies, and their work hours are American standards, and they're exhausted. And so they come to the dance center to relax and be like, oh, I had like a 9 hour, 10 hour day, right? I need to unwind. And so
Hmm.
they come here and they relax with us. And it's just so funny because it's kind of like we did a flip flop. I came here and they're going there. But it's a very different standard.
Yeah, it is. And I'm wondering if there were those standards when you're working with such young kids, like you just mentioned a 6-year-old, and then, of course, our beautiful abuelitos as well. Our grandparents, for those who don't speak the Spanish, dearies. But were there any moments you recall from when you were a kid that inspired you to, continue this dancing thing? Was there a moment when you were doing your ballroom sessions or whatever in school or church, but like, okay, now I gotta make this my thing?
Yes. So
What
I
was that?
remember one of the first experiences I had dancing was we were probably like 9 years old and we went to the old folks home. So in America, it's like very common to put like the elderly in like assisted living,
Yeah.
which is just so not a thing here in Spain. Spain, like you move in with the family or you're in your own home until and like your grandson comes and walks you. And the States is kind of cold hearted that way.
Mm.
Like the elderly are often displaced and put into like assisted living.
Yeah.
And one of the things we did as young dancers is we would go and perform and dance with the elderly. And that was one of the first moments where I saw how important dancing was for people because it brings people back to life and it gives them a fresh breath, you know?
Amen. Yeah, I do know.
And then I think with fast forward to when I started teaching, most of my clients when I first started were in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. My oldest student
Wow.
was 104, oldest woman in New York, right?
How do you? Okay, so Sir Tyler, and can we just steal you for another 5, 6, 7 minutes?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm here for you.
Um, how does a gentleman like yourself teach one of the oldest, if not the oldest at that time, dancing woman in New York City at almost 105?
You know what?
It's so beautiful,
You
actually.
you connect with them like any of your friends. And I think at least
That touches
how
me.
I used to start off, I had this image of the elderly like or people who have like progressed through life, you have this image like of your grandma, right? Like, oh, she's older, you need to be nice. No, these people are alive, they're smart, they're sharp,
Fierce as
and
hell. Oh my God,
when they
yeah.
walk into the dance studio, I treat them like I would any 16-year-old girl. I'm like, girl, put on those heels, let's go, let's show our stuff. And it really is so refreshing because I think people tend to treat people differently as they age, and we really don't need to, you know. Um, my ladies are kicking and they're jiving and they're doing quick step, they're scattering across the floor like these young kids too, and it keeps them young, you know. It keeps you lively, and I really think that it's also such a good way to connect with
It
people.
is.
So it's like such a strong sense of community as well as keeping them physically and mentally sharp, you know?
That actually, you telling me that made me a little emotional. I just had a couple of nights ago, days ago, not yesterday, the day before. I had a long, late lunch with my queen, Lady Gibert here, not too far from here, and she's going to be 96 soon, and she was just saying these
Hey,
things, so almost verbatim some of the things you said. Obviously in Catalan, she was saying, and that made me emotional because you just hit me with that because she's actually even almost 10 years younger than this woman you were doing this with. And so,
yeah.
what is some of the, if you could give advice to people that, because we want to start, we're going to do, do a little bit of promo. We want people coming into the studio because now New York City is here in Barcelona, children, like I've said earlier in the
Hey,
session. Calle Verga, number 34, in the beautiful streets of Gracia, near Fontana Metro, and also the Gracia stop on the Ferrocarriles of Catalunya here in Barcelona. What are some of the things that you want people to know about the studio when they come down there? Because you've already made it feel in these last 15, 20 minutes like a family of sorts. What else should people know
well,
about it?
number one, everyone is welcome here. You know, the idea of dancing can be scary or to like be in front of people doing something new that you're not practiced at. We are
Yeah.
a school, and so everybody's learning together. We have people from principiantes level where they have no idea what's their right foot from their left foot, and we educate them and help them come into their own. And we have classes specific towards that, all the way to professional, where people have been dancing for 15 plus years, right?
Mm.
And we really strive to create a safe learning environment where people don't feel judged or worried about making a mistake or doing it perfect. It's really about bringing everything together and enjoying the art of dance together.
Mm. I'm so digging that. I want to thank you so much
Yeah.
for taking this time actually to do that. Where can people, besides, like I mentioned, I'm going to mention one more time, all of us, Calle Verga, number
Yeah.
34 in Gracia by the Fontana and Gracia metro stations and train stations. Where can people find you on social media, and how can other ways that maybe people can get a hold of you?
Yeah. So our Instagram handle is Arthur Murray Barcelona.
Arthur Murray,
But the
Barcelona.
best way to get started with us is at our website,
Awesome.
arthurmurraybarcelona.com. And online, you can register for a complimentary lesson. So you come in, you see if you like us, you connect with the teachers,
And you will.
you see the studio, you learn a few basic moves, and then we can put you into the correct class based on your learning level. So whether
Awesome.
you're total beginner, somewhere in the middle, or advanced, we have a class for you.
Uh, I want to thank you so much for taking this time. I apologize. I'm sorry that there was a snafu that kind of sucked, but I cannot wait to have you in the studio because I would love to actually have you do some dancings or bring some of the people to do some, and we'll turn this into a dance studio for a hot minute.
Oh, for
In the
sure. I'm so
future.
there.
In the future. I know you. In fact, our brother, like I said, has got to go to work really quickly. We always ask our students, oh my nerves, our beautiful guests, to bring some music. One of the things that you brought earlier that we played was Latin rhythm, actually, that you had chosen
Oh, for
from the
sure.
Dua Diddy. From
I love that song.
the Dua Diddy from, and you were talking about some of these things. Now, the one we're gonna play out as you say chante for us is "Hit the Road Jack," which is one of my favorites because I used to dance with this when I was a little boy with my mama,
Oh, yeah.
by Casey Abrams. Okay, what
Awesome.
type of dance is "Hit the Road Jack"? Like, what would that
Good
be?
question. So this is like very American. You're fusing jazz with rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this mix between like a foxtrot, which is very Southern jazz
Yep.
influenced, with a little bit of rock, right? I like a little bit of,
I'm a rockabilly
you
type.
know, it's got like a jive energy to it, but
Got
you
you.
can fuse it. So this is a remix, actually, Casey Abrams and Haley Reinhardt, and I just love it because it brings that old essence of the '60s in the
Mm-hmm.
South and New York, when rock and roll was big, but also it brings it into like a modern age. Yeah, so it's really fun song. I love
Mate,
this song.
we will be hanging out next week. Oh, God. But I want to
Let's do
thank you,
it.
everybody. This
Yeah,
is
I think you owe me coffee. Let's
and
go.
and now you owe me a night on the town. I'm gonna hold
I
that on the
do.
WhatsApp, children. This is my beautiful brother Tyler from Arthur Murray Dance Studio, again in Calle Vergara number 34. And you can find them online at their website. You can also find them with their handle on Instagram at Arthur Murray Barcelona. Thank you so much for being here, my brother. I know you got work to do. We're gonna play that song out, and then, folks, we will be back here at the Club with Lucas on RC 106.9 FM with all the news that you can use in English. Bye, Sir Tyler. We will talk to you soon, brother. Thank you so much. Ciao,
Bye,
bello.
darling.
And everybody, this is Hit the Road Jack. And my brother Tyler's hitting the road. So we will see you in just about 3 minutes, kids. We'll be right back.
I hear you wanna say something to me.
You know what I'm gonna say.
Why don't you tell me right now?
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
What you see?
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Oh, woman, listen, woman, don't you treat me so mean. You're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you say so, I have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Oh, baby, don't you make me leave.
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Oh, baby, listen, baby, don't you treat me this way. 'Cause I'll be back on my feet someday.
I don't care if you do, 'cause it's understood. You ain't got no money, you just ain't no good.
Well, I guess if you say so, well, I have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Oh! If that's really how you feel,
Yes, you know it's how I feel.
well, guess what? Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
I hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say? Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, don't you come back no more.
Yeah, right, don't you give me that
Oh,
shit.
hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more. And don't you come back no more. And don't you come back no more. 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 Don't you come back no more.
Don't you come back no more.
I dug that. And remember, everybody, you can also get all that information from Arthur Mary Barcelona. Just do a quick little Google into their website, Arthur Mary Barcelona, and of course their handle at Instagram. Ooh, that was some good stuff, taking me back a little bit. We've got some good news that we're going to start with. It's going to be a little bit of a division of some news that I want to get to. Hamas has just released 4 more Israeli sisters. In fact, there were people that were caught. I'm not sure if all of them are Israeli, but I believe they are. They are named Karina Ariev, Daniela Gilboa, Nama Levi, and Iliri Albag, who were just released in the last few minutes. That has just been reported, so I wanted to break that here right now. We're going to jump back into some local news quickly because this is the 80th anniversary, local being Europe and then in Spain, here in Catalonia. But this is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. In fact, this is the year that this finally started wrapping up the horrible end of what we would love to say was the last time that the world would go to war. Obviously, that is not happening if we're just releasing hostages. And part of Palestine, if not a plurality of it, is destroyed to ruins. But on the eve of this, I would like to say that there are actually just as many or just a few more democratic states now than there were back in that time. In fact, doing some research and speaking to one of my university sessions this past week, there are now fewer democratic states in the world than there were as we entered the 1990s. That means there are more undemocratic, fascist, autocratic, or communist states in the world than there were 35 years ago. And that does not bode well when we have people like the supposed richest man on earth. For all we know, his friend Vladimir Putin is the richest man on earth. Elon Musk doing the Nazi Heil Hitler salute twice at the inauguration of the U.S. president, the supposed U.S. president, not my mother effing president, but Donald Trump, as his name is here. And that affects many issues when we look at G20 and G20 type countries that are fewer and fewer of which have a strong democratic standing right now. 2 of them that do are actually 2 of the Spanish-speaking superpowers in the world, which would be Spain and Mexico. And unfortunately this week, there seemed to be a little, I guess it's my invented word of the day, a snafaroo of ginormous proportions. I mean, ginormous for 2 things. Because the decree that went down between laws that were trying to be passed in the parliament of our country this week were quite helpful to many people. In fact, it would be helpful to scores of millions, really, at least several millions of people. But on the 26th of this month, an omnibus decree bill was not passed when the right and far-right parties of Spain, which were obviously known as the Partido Popular and Vox, were joined by the, I'm going to start saying, far-right party of Catalonia, Junts pel Cat, to vote down the measures that would have done, I think the main part of these measures was actually finalizing some of the budget for this year, but by doing a reevaluation of the pensions for the pushing up of the interprofessional minimum salary, as well as more aids to reduce the cost of public transport in major cities here, and a bunch of extra money that has still not been approved for the people that were hit by the Dana in October and November rainstorms that, wiped out many cities, or at least demolished a lot of them in the provinces around Valencia City. Of course, this was also one more thing that needs to be added, was a major protection of vulnerable people. There was going to be an allotment of money for people of that nature, the handicapped and whatnot. Now, it wasn't just that, though. There were almost 75 other attachments that went into that bill, okay? And that is where people started to get certain things of what we call, like what we like to say in the States, people got their panties in a wad over the things that were also being decreed on there. Okay, and this is why an omnibus spending bill, hence the word omni, was in there, because there were little things like ceding some of the Palacete de París al Partido Nacionalista Vasco. That was in there. Okay. Now, in U.S. politics, this is called gastos de puerco, pork spending. And it's little things that are added to bills that are more than likely going to be approved, because this bill was, in theory, thought to be being approved. It was not, obviously. And it was for they say it was for little things like that. There was another thing that they've been trying for 4 years and failing, because obviously the PP controls the Senate in the parliament. But there was still restructuring help and aids to the scores, to the tunes of many, many millions that were being designated to the island of La Palma, which has still not been reconstructed since the volcanic eruption in 2021. Yes, during the post-height of the pandemic. So there was that. There was also to pass a law that would protect vulnerable people in bad situations, people of low income, vulnerable single parents, older people, handicapped, that would have a complete prohibition and that you could not cut basic services and utilities to people who were homeless or vulnerable in those situations. Well, that was not passed as well. All of the discounts that were included for all the major cities for public transport was not passed as well. I would like to say that the major cities in Valencia, in Madrid, here in Catalonia, in País Vasco, and I forget another place, I want to say Asturias, are going to be continuing these discounts for citizens and permanent residents here in the cities. So that will be continued here. I would also like to make mention that in many, not all, but in many cities across the Western world, one of the only places that ever has a surplus or at least adequate amount of money is usually the public transport system. Not always, but it often is. So that's a good thing, because they'll be doing that. Another thing, of course, that was thrown in there were specific little aids to specific little areas that members apparently of Junts pel Cat, Vox, and PP didn't think were necessary for, shit towns, because that's how they think about them. The main thing was there was going to be an augmentation of the general pensions up 2.8% in this year, and obviously another augmentation and increment of the minimum salaries and pensions as well. That was disavowed. Now, on top of that, I've mentioned about 10, 12 of them. There was still another 60, 70 plus that were not mentioned, and it's those 60 plus that pissed off. A lot of that goes to do with the little cities and things that we were talking about that would be getting little specific aids that the PP and Junts and Vox didn't want to pay for. Now, the only thing I want to say about that is, adding that type of pork spending does look dubious. If you go through, and there are lists of them online, and look at I believe, was it 78 or 81 bills that were to be passed, the majority of them are helping the 90% of the country. Seriously, look the shit up. But I understand it looks tricky. It looks dubious when you're not used to that. I would also like to say these omnibus packages, this is nothing new. This has been going on since 1979, okay? Since the signing of the Constitution. 78, December 78, let's be real, 79. What has also been going on since the signing of the Constitution is that the party that has always been held by what is now theoretically the stronger independence party of Catalonia, which at the time was headed by a man named Jordi Pujol, has voted the majority of the time, and by majority I mean in every annual set of bills that are voted on in the Congress or Parliament rather of Moncloa in Madrid, 70 to 90% of the time, the party headed by Jordi Pujol, whether it was Convergencia at one time, it was Union was a different one, Convergencia Unió, PDK, Junts pel Cat, whatever, over these 45 plus years, they have voted in line with the PP and now with PP and Vox, which incidentally are the two parties that were formed from the back of the Falange, headed by a man named Fraga, who was the right-hand man to Francisco Franco, who had Not just a few thousand, scores and scores of thousands of Catalans and many other people who didn't speak or refused to speak only Spanish or follow the Spanish laws of the Republicans or whatnot, killed. And this political party that claims to be an independence party lining up with Catalanismo continues to vote always with the extreme right of this country. I want to let you let that sit in. Whether you don't like the bills that were going to be added to that or not, the formation of lining yourself up with those types of people who killed your people is sick and sociopathic and says a lot about what's going on in society when you look at reality on reality's points. That failed. They're going to have to redo this. That's what Pedro Sanchez is saying. And today, Feixó has come out and saying, as the leader of the PP, saying, they're trying to make us look bad. You did that very well. We're going to throw in a little bit of a 2-minute ditty right now so I don't blow up, because we have some other ish to talk about Donald Trump and what's happening on the other side of the pond in the country I was born in. This is something that we all have to do from time to time. This is a song called Blackout. It is truly a wonderful 2-minute ditty by Reisha Rami. And we'll be right back on 106.9 FM and the Club with Lucas and RC.
Back out the room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do. Back out the room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do. Back out the room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do. Back out the room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do. Back out the stew, the biddies pull through. In coming out, it's a party too. Pick my cup, it's enough for 2. Sip on the juice, all I wanna do. Back out the room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do. Back out the room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do.
On the floor, all I wanna do.
The room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do. Back out the room, make the bass go boom. In, put it down, make your heart go zoom. Kick my drum, make it bang for you. 4 on the floor, all I wanna do.
Reisha Rami, thank you for 2 minutes of a little bit of techno throwback. Let's get back into the other side of the pond, because a few days ago, that piece of crap, that orange piece of ish, entered the office for version 2.0. He brought, people were coming to the inauguration, as they do every year for forever, and modern times anyway. And then Donald Trump took everything inside. And there were videos, you can actually see this, of Elon Musk where his ketamine kicks in during the inauguration ceremony. And his eyes are rolling back and his head spinning. And a few minutes later, he's on stage doing a Nazi salute. And, to take a riff off of Stephen Colbert, when you're doing that with the hand, there's like a certain image where, you've got the petting the dog part, you've got the tousling your what he said, tousling your nephew's hair, and then hailing a cab. But in between that zone there, when you start lifting that hand and hitting your chest twice, that says a lot. That says a lot. And so immediately that piece of shit came into office and started making executive orders, a plurality of which have already been, already in the courts being denied because it's anti-constitutional, for example. He wrote an executive order that anybody who is born within the United States is not a citizen anymore, even though that is inscribed in the Constitution, the 14th Amendment of our the United States Constitution, rather. And that was obviously just immediately rejected from the courts because you cannot just say an executive order that starts outlawing parts of the Constitution that are inscribed. It's just that's not the way Republican democracy works or social democracy works. It just doesn't work that way. And so that's already something up that's going on in the court systems. We'll get back to that later. Something that I need to report, which is horrifying, is that on a split vote, that was then deadlocked in the Senate. So new Vice President J.D. Vance came and has approved Pete Hegseth as the new Secretary of Defense of the United States of America. This is a man who not only has rape charges that he had put away and paid off, allegation charges that he has paid women off and made them sign non-disclosure agreements. Not only has he been told by many people that in Fox News he arrives to do his sessions drunk as a skunk continuously, this man has also threatened and did beat his former wives. And even his wives had to have safe words with their families when they needed to escape from their home because he was threatening or was beating them. This man, this wife-beating alcoholic rapist, is the head of the Defense Department of the United States of America with control of the nuclear codes. This is what happened while we were asleep late last night in the Congress of the United States of America. And it is things like that that make life so uber daunting when we look at what's happening. When we have Elon Musk as the real vice president of the United States, and then the lackey vice president allowing things like alcoholic rapists to be the leader of the Department of Defense. I would like to say that since he took office, not only have the stocks started to not placate themselves, but they actually shut down, and we have closed in red numbers on the stock markets, not only in the United States, but on parts around the globe as well, with the entrance of Donald Trump, which is not normal, because normal when a new U.S. president comes in, stocks go up. Stocks go up. Even went up with Trump after Obama, really went up with Obama, really went up with Biden, and they've gone down with Trump going. Just look it up. Look at the Dow, look at the stocks, look at the EBEX, look at the NASDAQ. You'll see what I'm mother effing talking about. One of the things that's also being talked about is that Spain has become, as of between 23, but now to 25, the red-hot tourist destination that is now rivaling America's economic growth. It is not rivaling America's economic growth. Spain was the only one who had an over 3% growth in 2024. In fact, the only comparable one was the United States, with a 2.8% rise in its GDP growth. Spain in 2024 had a 3.1% growth. It is the strongest economy in growth statistics on the face of the planet right now. And the United States is the strongest economy in the history of the world, according to the IMF and the Economist magazine, and that is what that piece of shit Donald Trump has inherited. I say this because I want people to be aware of what is happening in the two countries right now, okay? Because in this country, already stated this is one of the only G20 countries that has an actual democratic republic socialist modicum of support that is floating in the balance of a 3.1% increase. Now, obviously, we always need a minimum of 1.5 to 2% growth. That is what stable economies in the West need, or most any stable economy in any country needs. A 3.1 supersedes that, and the IMF has approved that this was a 3.1% growth in 2024 for Spain. So obviously, inflation sucks, but the political party that is running this country has done something right. What they're trying to do right now, even though it was done, I would say, effectively poorly, because not many things were obviously approved of when Junts joined the far right of the country. But something's going on, because our landmarks, museums, restaurants are more popular per capita than in the United States, which is also the other one of the major countries that is visited. And of course, that is going to be plummeting as well. One of the last things that I want to end up, because I don't want to end up with such horrible news, because something that I loved doing growing up, we were not even allowed. As Tyler mentioned earlier, both of us grew up in incredibly stringent Christian and Judeo-Christian for myself families. But the Oscars were announced this week, and I just want to name, as we do every mother effing year here, is what we do, some of the nominees that are going to be coming up, because now you can start catching all of these here at the cinemas. I want to highlight the fact that I believe nearly 15, if not more than 15, cinemas in the province of Barcelona are original version. You can catch these; they are all over the city. Please educate yourselves. Go watch these things in the original version that they were made in. The names of the top 10 best, or the top leading films for best film were Anora, The Brutalist, which I'm going to be catching soon. Shout out Lady Laura and Fashion Cares. A Complete Unknown. Ooh, child, about Bob Dylan. Conclave, Dune Part 2, sigh. Emilia Perez, starring my girl Zoe Saldana, one of the first trans women as well, who's also been nominated for the first time for Best Actress, I believe, or Best Supporting Actress, I forget which one. And it's also starring, produced by Selena Gomez. I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys The Substance, starring Golden Globe winning actress Demi Moore, my girl, and of course Wicked, which I have a feeling might be a sleeper winner. But so many beautiful films have been nominated. I want to say it was the Best Actress in a Leading Role, and her name, my trans sister, is Carla Sofia Gascon, representing Emilia Perez, as well, of course, as Cynthia Erivo, Demi Moore, Fernanda Torres of I'm Still Here, and Mikey Madison. We've got a smorgasbord of representation in the Oscars for the first time in a couple of years, and I'm really happy to say that that is going on. Now, whether they're going to still be televised is up in the air. We want to give all our love and support and shout out to everybody that's suffering, including people and members of my own very blood immediate family. We love you, Los Angeles. And we're going to say we love you, folks, here. And we're going to drop you off with something that we love to do because, oh, God, it's been about over a year now. But somebody contacted me through one of the events that was going on here. So shout out Adrian and his beautiful son, whose name is Luke Elliott Smith, but his stage name is Luke Marzek, has just released, as of last night, his new EP. In fact, the whole album is out, but the single that we're going to be playing right now, and I say this with pride, is his first single. It's called I Can't Get You Out of My Mind. You can catch this on Apple, on Spotify, everywhere where good music is streamed. This is Luke Marzek with I Can't Get You Out of My Mind, folks. You can catch that single everywhere, as we say, but he is getting his airplay right now on Spanish in Barcelona and Catalan radio, folks. We're going to be re-emitting a lovely moment with Christopher Macken, the wonderful Christopher Macken right now coming up. This is a shout out to my people here and to everybody making good music, everybody making good cinema, everybody making good dance, everybody making good education. Please keep doing what you're doing. We need it. We need it. We need it. This is Luke Marzek with I Can't Get You Out of My Mind. We will see you next week. Same bad time and channel. Bye, everybody.
Oh no, why'd you have to let me go? Who knows? Yeah, you think that you might know. Oh, baby, oh, like a cold winter breeze, the way that you talk to me. Oh, I just can't get you out of my mind. Oh, I just can't get you out of my mind. Yeah, I'm glad that you have set me free. Who knows? Just live and let it be. Oh, baby, like a cold winter breeze, the way that you talk to me. Oh, I just can't get you out of my mind. arguments started. Now we're here and out of control. I hear the news, what's the news? There's no excuse, nothing new. A city boy and a city girl lost in their own world. But I just can't get you out of my mind. Oh, I just can't get you out of my mind. Yeah. You don't have to choose. You can take your time. And if you still don't know, let's just take our time. If you still don't know, let's just take our time. And when you know, just let me know. And I'll be waiting for your call. And when you know, just let me know. Just let me know. 'Cause I'll be waiting for your call. And when you know, just let me know. 'Cause I'll be waiting for your
Oh, shiza. We just came in with me making sure my hairs weren't sticking out of my nose. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome everybody. If it's a few minutes past 11 o'clock on a Saturday late morning, welcome to the Club with Lucas here on RCE 106.9, part of the English radio family here. I am so happy to be here with you, and happy holidays, everybody. Let's say it. Yeah, let's say it. Happy Christmas Kwanzaa, everybody. Yes, the holidays are on their way right now, and we are happy for that. In fact, I think we all need a little bit of holidays, right? A little bit of cheer because, well, Donald Trump has given us Christmas back, you guys. Oh, my God, we can, totes say it. And after January 20th, the world is going to explode. Surely I jest. I do. Or do I? And I will not call you Shirley. But we are happy to have you here today on the Club with Lucas, and I'm very, very excited because a beautiful man has just flown his way over to celebrate with us on this fake Christmas Kwanzaa thing, because actually next week I'm going to be more than likely out of town, as well as for Reyes. And so we're going to be seeing you right before the first for the New Year's show. Yeah, it's the end of year show, I guess we're going to say, on Dia de los Inocentes, which is actually the Spanish and or Catalan kind of like April Fool's Day for my international audience. But Mr. Beautiful, we'll call him Mr. Beautiful, Christopher Mackin, a creative beauty businessman and TV personality, a.k.a. Mansions and Mascara, for those of you on Tick to the Talk, Instagram and Facebook. Mansions and Mascara, Mr. Christopher Mackin is going to be joining us in here. He's got an incredible history. And we just had a beautiful dinner last night, so if you see big bags under my eyes because you're watching this later on YouTube or right now, you already know. But I want you to grab your favorite poison, because we also have a second hour coming up with something beautiful that we're launching this weekend as well, which is yet another podcast with yours truly and my beautiful queen, Kelly Ellis, from Los Angeles. Actually, we are launching a podcast. Number 8, I believe it is, actually, with Dr. Kevin Patterson. That's going to be coming up on the second hour. And boy, oh boy, we are keeping it within the community. And by the community, I mean everybody, because everyone's a little bit queer. But we're definitely talking LGBTQI plus and women today and a lot more. We also have a lot of music to get to, and I'm not going to make it all Christmassy. We're actually going to be doing a little more Christmassy and stuff like that at the holiday season when we do our holiday show and New Year's end show before Reyes in the new year on the 28th, everybody. But we've got so much to get to today as well. So, folks, remember, you can follow the goodness of the podcast at Design Meets Live Podcast on Spotify and Instagram, as well as following us on YouTube, which we are now mounting. And remember, my beautiful people, you can also follow my beautiful self at the Club with Lucas on Instagram. For now, the Club W Lucas will be changing to Threads and Blue Spring. It's Blue Sky in January, but that's also going to be the Club W Lucas. And of course, you can watch us with your peepholes at 106.9 FM on YouTube, and catch us all over the beautiful state of Catalonia at 106.9 FM and RCE.cat. Now, because of everything that's going on, we're going to be throwing a little bit of amp music, a little bit of nostalgia as well. And this one is from a woman named Kiki. Now, the name immediately stood out to me because we're going to have a lot of a Kiki today with Mr. Mackin, Sir Mansions and Mascara. But also on top of that, my sister's name is Christine. When I was little and I could not pronounce her name, so we would call her Kiki. And one of my best friends, shout out Kiki Shakti, another radio DJ and live streamer out in New Mexico, holding down the front for the Democrats and lovers of democracy in the United States of America. We'll get to that shit in just a minute. But this is Love is So Unreal, because sometimes life is so unreal. And this is Kiki. Remember, catch the jams live right now on 106.9 FM, and we'll be back in 4 minutes. Oh, God, I love it, love it, love it. That was Kiki. And also, you can catch all of those beautiful stuff as well, not only live, but also on YouTube. Remember, folks, you can follow us. As I say, 11 o'clock on the clock at 106.9 FM here on YouTube as well. So you can watch us with your peepholes. And I also wanted to say, I want to give a mad shout out to the Soulful Trio. We actually entered in that little funky jazzy number with the Soulful Trio and my beautiful man, Lucas Herrera Fernandez Music. You can also catch him at Lucas Herrera Musica. They have just launched their new CD. In fact, they had it at Jamboree, their release party this last Wednesday evening, and you can find them on the 22nd because they're going to be playing lots of shows all over the place. So start looking those guys up and follow them as well on Instagram. Now, let's get to some news because we can all use a little bit of clues. It's been a while. It's a little bit of a hot minute since we were last together. But so much as usual is going on in our beautiful world, and this is where we live, so at least some of us do here on Earth 1. There are others who choose to live on Earth 2, but we'll get to that in a minute. For example, the fallout still continues after the local and political drama behind, you already know, the flooding and natural disasters that happened in Valencia and the surrounding provinces. Of course, our, not just thoughts and prayers, our energy, good vibes, and high vibrations go to the people there who are actually on the ground, specifically helping those in need. Now, meanwhile, there is also going to be a push to bring down a little bit of the Sanchez administration because of their possible entanglements with people who were making deals for masks and other accoutrements that were necessary during the pandemic's beginnings. Now, of course, this is not just implicating him. This is not implicating him at all. In fact, it's implicating people who were connected to the Socialist Party as well as people in the PP, and specifically someone who's already been slapped on the wrist for that, which is Madrid Mayor Isabel Ayuso and her husband, well, ex-boyfriend now, I believe it is. She's on the loose. Ay, Ayuso, quiero ser tu pinche muso. We won't get into that shit right now. However, it's also true that his wife Begonia Sanchez, is also under investigation right now for possible fiscal fraud with her company and some of her business dealings. Now, as of today, despite the investigations, nothing has been proven against the Sanchez family or the administration, but it has to be noted that as we wrap up 2024, I do want to also make some mentions of mother effing facts up in here, and that would be that Spain apparently will be taking the lead, if not as the top, per capita, of course. One of the tops, it might actually be number 2 or 1, of the top players in the country with the biggest fiscal growth per capita this year. In fact, post-pandemic, most fiscal leaders were pushing for a growth rate of at least 1.5 to 2%, and it looks like Spain is going to be coming out with very near 3%, somewhere between 2.9 and 3.1% growth, as we are nearly doubling what was anticipated at the beginning of this fiscal year. So that is actually not bad news for us as we move into the holiday season. Now, let's get to something else that's been going on, because around the world and around the corner of around the world, the fall of the Syrian regime happened over the last few days, and it has been an astounding thing to watch. The family Assad, and of course that's ass and ad, put it together, children of the corn. The family Assad has been running Syria for decades, and what is very interesting is that at the beginning of the month of December, little by little, a period of periods or little collections of group of militia fighters not only took over the government, they also took over the buildings of the government. They were able to oust the leader, who he and his wife have now moved their mother effing asses to Russia. Meanwhile, Russia's forces now, we know of deaths, severe injuries, and people who are not on the battlefield anymore, have passed over 1 million casualties, fatal or not, as well as their incorporation of North Korea to help them with soldiers who, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, still continue to be inundated by pornography on their phones, which continues to be a running joke in Russia. Aside from that, the fall of Syria has actually happened. This has been going on since the Arab Spring. They have taken over, and they're not only set to commence rule, but also intend to have a complete overhaul of everything that had been going on in the former administration for the past, decades, really. What we are also discovering, and this has been some incredible reporting by CNN International, so I do have to give a shout out to them, and specifically Lady Clarissa Ward, who is just an amazing, amazing reporter. So if you don't follow her, please do that, because as we want to do, we are building up an independent fact-based, democracy-loving entertainment system of media outlets here in Barcelona, and not only for the expat community, but I highly, highly recommend Journalist of her ilk. That is Lady Clarissa Ward. And we have discovered that not only were there thousands, if not scores of thousands of people in torture prisons, but the amount of collection of goods that have been ransacked and have been taken, or being discovered rather, within the Assad family compound is insane. Rows and rows and rows. We're talking Jamiroquai, JK, mother effing levels of not just classic, but insanely expensive luxury cars, while people have been eating rocks. Of course, they have flown over to the border region of Russia, and they can go lump themselves and kick themselves over a ledge. And if you don't know about the wife of Assad, I ask you to go down a little Google rabbit hole and find about her connections with England. We'll talk about that in another segment, or not. Now, let's talk about that. Go figure. Anyway, meanwhile, everything is being prepared for the Trump second administration to be entering and his merry band of clowns on January 20th. Now, of course, this is going to be the second inauguration of him coming into the White House, and what is being talked about right now, specifically as they prepare for the inauguration, is that many people are surprised with the people that he's actually inviting to this inauguration. It is being rumored that he's even jokingly invited people like Russia, but of course Russia's Putin, but of course he won't show up. But Viktor Orban is supposed to be coming. He's also invited President Xi of China to attend this event. Apparently, Trump has been offering these invites to foreign leaders through calls and back channels, but it's still being speculated as who will be showing up to this administration event on January 20th, and of course it will not have a resounding effect of actual real musical stars and things of that nature to usher him in. Now, almost all of the people that are entering his administration is what's really causing the drama, and just in a way, loud, hysterical, as we show a mirror to society of what's happening. In fact, 13, I count them, 13 Fox News Entertainment News, let's call that entertainment news, I don't call it news, Fox Entertainment Infotainment Show, 13 of those people and broadcasters are going to be joining his administration. He is actually moving his son, Donald Trump Jr., who's been caught as of this past week with some New York socialite who's a much younger thing, and he's moving his current girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who incidentally was the wife of current California Governor Gavin Newsom. He's moving Kimberly Guilfoyle over to be an ambassador in Greece, so bye. And all of these things, will be happening. Now, I want you to imagine if the leader, or let's say the spokesman for those of us here in Spain and Catalonia, of La Hormiguera or La Resistencia, or let's take it to England with Graham Norton, or perhaps Stephen Colbert, became leaders of administrations like the Defense Department, the Security Council. This is the stuff that's happening, and of course, this is what's turning everything into a bit of a laughingstock. Now, Trump continues to insist that he's going to be charging the people that are importing goods from outside of the country with tariffs as much as between 20 and 50% for every product that is brought in. He says that will be the answer to solving any financial issues within the United States. Again, the United States is close behind Spain as closing with the strongest economy, or highest growth rather, and the strongest economy of the world. But he also made mention to Kristen Walker, who was on Meet the Press this week, that he has no way, absolutely no way of ensuring anything, and that prices will be going down. In fact, he truthed out in the middle of the night over the weekend, or last weekend rather, that Americans need to expect for prices to go up, and then Elon Musk reiterated that by tweeting the next mother effing day that, yeah, Americans will have to be prepared to suffer for a while, and I'm paraphrasing this, before the good can actually happen. I want to remind everybody that nearly half of all the lumber of the United States that comes for making constructions within the United States comes from Canada. That would be tariffed. Over 80% of the country's avocados comes from Mexico. In fact, nearly 50% of all the fruits and vegetables within the United States are not grown within the United States. They are imported. Okay. The thing is, this is eventually going to affect our markets as well here in Europe, and that's the scary mother effing thing, because we live in a globalized economy, children of the corn. I think we all know that. So that could affect things because, for example, Spain imports so much different types of not just like olive oil, but natural oil and things of that nature to the tune of scores and scores and scores of billions. Now, if 30-40% tariffs get added to that, we're going to have to rack up prices here, which will then affect our economy, That might then affect the industry, which will mean laying off people, which could then lead to recession. And this is what's keeping, it keeps on happening. There's a massive, massive drama, of course, going on with the administrations in power, as well as their fiscal administrations in France and Germany, and that affects all of us. Last thing, South Korea almost had a massive coup d'etat as a major democracy. And the people that shot the head of Alliance Healthcare CEO, a gentleman. Some people call him that. Some people call him a murderer. I can definitely attest that he is allegedly a murderer, but he's also a good-looking one. And his name is Luigi Mangione. He was caught at a McDonald's in Philadelphia. He shot the man very John Wick style on the streets of New York City at 6 a.m. last Wednesday, a week and a half ago. And he was on a manhunt for almost 10 days. They finally found him in a corner of a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The person who called him in, this is a fun fact, they called the police, the local police, so that means that that person will probably not be getting the $60,000 reward that was out on them because they were supposed to call the reward hotline. Is that fair? Oh, you guys. That's why we scream money can't be everything, because it's never innocent. That's a shitty segue into Primal Scream, whose lead singer died this year, or last year rather, so we need to give a mad shout out. But they actually have culminated the rest of their album that they were recording when he passed away. And Primal Scream, if you don't know who they are, look them up. Specifically, go to their album, Screamadelica, found wherever good music is streamed. And remember, we're going to throw their new single, Innocent Money, out right now. This is 3.5 minutes of love and ditty. Remember, you can catch the jams live on 106.9 FM and RCE.mother-effing-cat. We'll be right back. Children of the Corn, guess what? I am not alone in the studio. Fall to my left, you're right if you're watching us with your peepholes. Mr. Oh my God, I was thinking mascara man. Mr. Matches and Mascara, Christopher Mackin is sitting right next to me. And hey, remember you can follow that little mother lover at Matches and Mascara on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, right?
That's right.
Welcome, Boppy. Welcome to Barcelona as well.
Thank you.
You've just been here a few days.
Bienvenuto, right?
Benvinguts, de veritat.
God, it's a thing. I'm learning.
Bienvenidos in castellano, benvinguts aquí in Catalunya, in Catalan. But my beautiful brother sitting over here from another mother is actually deciding on the possibility of lives in different states, in different countries, maybe.
Yeah.
Having your base in the U.S., obviously.
I mean, I'm an American by birth. I mean, I grew up there. I grew up in a very small town, and then as I got older, I was able to travel a lot, and that's when I really fell in love with Europe. And then I fell in love with a European, and
as you do, as you do.
Here I am.
Okay, yeah. I don't want that music to be playing. Okay, here's another question. When you say you fell in love with when you fell in love with a European, is that's not the only reason maybe that you want to be having some more ground here, perhaps? Or
currently, no.
Oh, hi, and that's what we want to get to over here on the Club with Lucas, because truthiness makes me feel wet down there, and. Honestly, a lot of decisions. We were talking over dinner last night, and one of these decisions, before we get to the nitty-gritty, because you know how at the club we want to take it back to the origin roots, of course. But one of the things that came up last night was certainly the past elections of a month and a half ago have affected some decisions.
Yeah, it was a tough day. I mean, I think all of us went to bed with one notion of what was going, kind of happen, and then we woke up to a different reality. And
how did you feel at that moment, if I may ask? Excuse me for interrupting.
Actually, physically nauseous.
Yeah.
The first 4 years weren't so dandy, and so this, and I know that.
What you talking about?
People will argue that, right? They go, "Oh no, it was great," and I'm like, "Okay, but what? Huh?" People have a very short-term memory. I won't speak about globally, but in the United States, people have a very short-term memory. And so they tend to remember that, there was not inflation at that time, but then they also forget how inflation began. And
who was leading when it started.
Right. And so it's an interesting place that we are, because I have seen a devolution of identity.
A devolution, I love that.
Yeah.
In which way, Hefe?
Please understand that this is coming from a perspective of an American who was raised American, and that also comes along with certain ideologies and propagandas that we're taught our entire life, that we are the best in the world, everyone else is not as good as us, everyone else wants to be us. That is something that is literally embedded in you every single day, from church to school to your homes, and so then it was America sticks up for the underdog, and we go in and we protect other countries, which I completely understand it now that I'm not a Gaby, that there are way more nuanced situations than that and involved in that. But at this point, America doesn't know who she is anymore. And we have found ourselves in a place that through a pursuit of profit, we found ourselves in a crisis of conscience. And that is where I think I have a bit of an emotional, spiritual, and internal struggle.
Okay. The guru was not there last night, and the guru has come out right now. And he's speaking truthiness right
The
now.
guru was buzzed.
We had a shout out, Eugenia and Nokandanchu. That everything, you took the words right out of my mouth, PJ.
Hi.
And you're coming from Midgeville? Scheiße.
Milledgeville, Georgia. In Milledgeville, Georgia, a very historical town for two reasons.
Why, sir? Tell us why.
One, it was the capital of Georgia during the Civil War. So I was telling you last night, there's only 2 cities in the United States that were pre-built and planned to be capital cities, Washington, D.C. and Milledgeville, Georgia. So Milledgeville was only the capital for a period of time. A lot of people think Atlanta was always the capital. It was not. Atlanta was not even called Atlanta all the time. It started off as Marthasville. Did you know?
This.
Did
You're
you know?
talking about a story, so I'm freaking out right now.
And then it became a really cool name, Terminus.
Really?
Yes, because where all the train stations came together.
That's what I was going to ask.
And then it became Atlanta.
And now it's Hotlanta.
No one says that.
No, oh, really?
Not if you're from there.
Shit.
That's how we
learn,
know.
children. Learn. That's how we know you're not from there.
When people come to Atlanta, they're like, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm in Hotlanta." I'm like, "Okay,
Okay, this is not a Real Housewives moment. Now,
No.
how do you feel about Atlanta now?
I love Atlanta. Atlanta's very liberal. Atlanta is the blue beating heart inside of our very red state.
Okay.
Democrat Republican reference,
Yeah,
in case you don't know. And so I live in a bubble, and sometimes it's very easy to forget that outside of that bubble, life is very different. And for me, Atlanta's very liberal. It is very pro people of color, pro LGBTQIA, pro immigrant. We are the number one, from what I understand, the number one location and city in the country for minority entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of small business startups there, big tech community, and is one of the number one filming destinations in the world.
Yeah, right.
So we're not Hollywood, but we're Yollywood. And that I think is something that makes Atlanta better, because we have all of these different people. I told my father one time, because I was speaking with my family who has completely different political beliefs than I do. Surprise, from Georgia, right? I was speaking with him, and I said, "Look, here's the thing. Because he was asking, why is it that Atlanta shouldn't dictate what happens in the rest of the state? Atlanta being so liberal shouldn't dictate what happens in the rest of the state. It doesn't matter that Atlanta is the beating heart of Georgia. It's the financial core of Georgia. So it's the 7th largest city in the nation, right? So that's the number one airport in the world, busiest airport in the world.
Right.
That's a crazy thing. So, but when he asked that, I said, well, that's a very simple thing that I can answer in 3 ways. And he said, okay. And I said, where in the state do you think has the highest net worth income earners? He said, I'm assuming you're going to say Atlanta. Not assuming, that is what it is. Where in the state do you think has the highest level of higher educated people? Atlanta, right? And number 3, and I think this is probably culturally the most significant, where in the state of Georgia has the highest rate of people living in a close proximity to people not like them? Atlanta. So when I walk out of my house, there's a mosque, there's a church. There, you have Christian institutions, you have Islam institutions, and everyone coexists peacefully.
Like in the city, like
we
New
like
York,
each other,
like here, yeah.
Right? I couldn't sit here and tell you how many black friends I have, how many Sikh friends I have, how many Muslim friends I have, how many Christian friends I have, how many atheist friends I have, because I've never taken inventory.
Yeah.
Because that's not the way Atlanta operates. So for that, I really love Atlanta. Atlanta is a very different city, honey. If you do not like gay people or black people, do not move there.
It is, again, it becomes that essence of the melting pot, which the United States is not, but certain cities are.
Yeah.
Definitely. One of the songs that you chose for today is something that it's going to be a perfect lead-in afterwards to Origin Roots.
Yeah.
There in Atlanta, and then what brought us over here. It's RuPaul. It's from 2004. It's from 20 years ago when we were children.
I was just sissy in that walk right over here this morning.
We were children, exactly. Sachet.
I'm
Shantae.
still 17.
Okay. Well, I'm 20. I'm 29. And as someone who was around at that time, looking good, feeling gorgeous. That's what we're going to play right now. Remember, you can catch the Gems live on 106.9 FM and rce.cat, and with your peepholes at 106.9 FM as well. However, on YouTube, when we come back, can we talk about that story?
Yeah.
Poor favor?
Absolutely.
All right, this is Lady Rue, and we'll be right back in 3 minutes, Children of the Corn.
How do I look? How do I look? Woke up this morning, it's a brighter day. Looked in the mirror, I saw a new face. 'Cause I got myself together, stepping in time. Everything's better, this day is mine. Well, how do I look? How do I feel? How do I look? You're looking good and feeling good. How do I look? How do I feel? How do I look? You're looking good and feeling gorgeous.
Walks real steady in her high heel steppers. She got lots of style. She got lots of class.
How do I
She
look?
walks real steady in her high heel steppers. She got lots of style. She got lots of class.
How do I look? How do I feel? How do I look?
You're looking good and feeling
How do I
gorgeous.
look? How do I feel? How do I look?
You're looking good and feeling gorgeous.
Oh, you're just saying that. I bet you say that to all the queens. Hush, player. Yes, I'm confident and self-assured. No holding back, not like before. I do what I want, can't settle for less. Not trying to phone it, I just want something. How do I look? How do I feel? How do I look?
You're looking good and feeling
How do I
gorgeous.
look? How do I feel? How do I look?
You're looking good and feeling gorgeous.
What, you think I'm one of them chicken heads? Touch this skin, honey. Touch all of this skin, darling. You can't take it. You're just an overgrown orangutan. Hand me my BlackBerry, honey. I got a test message to my agency. No, not the escort agency, honey, the modeling agency. Okay, I gotta make those coins, girl. Oh, yes, I look good. I feel good. Yes, I'm back, baby. I'm back to let you have it.
You're looking good and feeling
How do I
gorgeous.
look? How do I feel? How do I look?
Looking good and feeling gorgeous.
Yes, honey. Tens across the board. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
You're looking good and feeling gorgeous.
Legendary.
Oh, yeah, that was Lady Rue. We're going to just get to one quick anecdote about that, an origin story, as well as Mr. Christopher Mackin, as well as Matches and Mascara on IG and TikTok and FB. But he was coming home and we were talking about the fact that he had to hit up a 24-hour stop is what we're calling it. And there's been a big hullabaloo this past year because there are little 24/7 shops that are popping up around the city, and they're mostly owned usually by either Pakistanis or a couple by Latinos. And our Spanish and Catalan brothers and sisters don't like that because I'm sure we have that in Atlanta. We generally have that.
We literally have
Literally.
huge warehouse stores that are 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, are you talking about fucking Walmart?
Walmart.
I forget about Walmart.
Yes, honey.
Now, y'all don't know about Walmart, y'all.
They're rolling back prices. Don't you know? all that China stuff that you love to buy.
Well, we're going to be doing Made in America, tell you what now.
Sure
Because
we
Trump's
are.
going to give us that. He's going to give us Christmas,
Sure.
and that's how it's going to be. But, oh my God, when that Texas shit comes out, it's scary, right? Well, we're going to do fucking Brooklyn now, y'all. But when you're dealing with that, I have not thought of Walmart, and so I have not been into Walmart since the 90s.
Same. I've actually stopped going to Walmart.
I
if
do
at
like
all possible.
Target.
I like it. I like it. Okay, I will go there if I have to. I try my best to find a store that may be a little smaller or
Mom and
locally
pop
owned.
shop?
Yeah, I try.
Okay, we're huge about that on this show because the mom and pop shops are being thrown out because of things like Temu, Shane, Alibaba, and of course, Jeff Bezos' Amazon, which we spit at. However, I wanted to go back to. I knew that was going to happen. He said, I doubt. However, we won't talk about that, Californian. I want to go to the origin story of what led up to needing Feeling Good, Looking Gorgeous by RuPaul. Because coming from the Deep South, I was born in the Southwest and then raised over in New York City and grew up some of my time there.
New York City.
Tell you, get a rope. And
I love that you got that reference. I love that you remember that.
Pace Pecana, y'all. And what was your coming out process? If we can talk about that.
It was delightful. Everyone was supportive, and I didn't need therapy. No, my coming out process was traumatic, but at the same time, I'm not gonna pretend like mine was so horrible and everybody else had it easy. I grew up in, again, small town Georgia. My grandfather was a Southern Baptist minister, and a prominent one too, very well known Southern Baptist minister and beloved. He was wonderful, and my family was prominent in town, or is. My mom was one of the first women in the Rotary Club that they inducted. She was I think the first vice president of Rotary, and she was my mom was the quintessential 1980s ball busting businesswoman. With if she saw a pair of pumps back then it was Rich's before it became Macy's, that she liked, she bought them in every color. And the big earrings, and she had a buzzed haircut. She was she was it. So when I went to high school, well, first of all, I went to military school. Don't know if you knew that, but I was a military school kid. Wow. So for 3 years, I went to military school at that same castle in the middle of the town that was the former capital of Georgia. And I can remember sitting in gym class in 6th grade, the second day of my 6th grade year, when I can't believe I'm saying this, Coach Todd Simpson walked in. And y'all, let me tell you, I thought that was the most amazing specimen of human I had ever seen in my entire life. He was jimmy-jawed and pigeon-toed. And he was athletic and could run and just masculine. Is it getting warm in here? No, I'm just teasing. So I knew then, that's when I tell everyone that I got the memo, but I didn't want to read it yet. So, so then after that, it involved a lot of every night before bed praying that God would make me like girls because really thought that was going to work. Yeah. And I thought that if I prayed hard enough and if I loved God enough, that God would fix me.
Being the operative word.
Yeah. And of course, there were moments in my life that I recall, an aunt or a family member speaking with someone else, not about me, but just in general about gay people. And that left this scar inside me. I don't know what I would do if one of my children was. I would disown my child, blah, blah. And so it just drove you further into this place of self-loathing and self-hatred. So I was, obviously I'm in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, you're not dating. You're not, dating in the traditional sense. I mean, you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend that you sit with at lunch, right? That's not quite the same. So then in high school, I was recruited to a liberal arts high school for theater and dance. I'm a dancer. And when I went over there, I met someone who I was friends with. I won't get too specific on here, but I met someone who I was friends with and I fell in love with, and we had a romantic first puppy love kind of thing. And at that point, I realized that this was something that I couldn't pray away. Yeah. And and I have no problem talking about this. I hope the listeners don't mind hearing it. This is not a sob story, but I decided to try to take my own life at 17 because of the fact that I was gay. I felt like that it was better for me to do that and go back with God than to accept myself and love myself for who I was. So
you survived.
Yeah, thank God it didn't work. I took 47 prescription pills, but nobody tells you that antidepressants are designed to not be able to do the job. Really? Yeah, they just make you real sleepy for a while. So, but at 17, you thought that was a logical answer. It wasn't. And so, saying all that, I ended up coming out in the in a hospital. I had to stay in a hospital for a period of time. My minister actually came to visit me, and he asked me if I was gay.
Oh, wow.
And I can remember saying, hypothetically, if I was, what does that mean for my relationship with God? He said, I believe that God made you the way you are. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm hearing this. This is amazing. I have a confidant, somebody who is embracing me, right?
Your pastor said that?
Yep. But then it gets better. He gets home and tells his son, who I was in school with, who then goes to school and tells the entire school.
Shit.
So I was
Are
outed.
you kidding me?
Nope. I'm serious.
I started getting emotional, and then that shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah. I mean, it was a really heartwarming thing, and then I realized that not every being that's wearing sheep's clothing is a sheep. There's the wolves out there. So I that made a big impact on me, and I kind of pulled away from the church for a bit.
Did you even want to go back to school after that?
I didn't actually. Because people stole hubcaps off my car, threw rocks at my windows. It was a lot of phone calls from people saying, I love you, but I nor God approve of what you're doing. It was just this whole rigmarole. At this point, the pendulum had swung, honey, because I used to be over here being like, no, I swear I'm straight. And then went all the way over here, and all of a sudden I'm wearing rainbow puka shells, and, I love it. Trying to learn every word to every Cher song ever, because I think that's going to be better for me somehow. And it was.
It always is. It's Cher.
Yeah. But, so then when I came out, that's when I had to then start the journey of finding my tribe and my chosen family. And I thought, and maybe you can relate to this. I really thought that, I'm going to come out into the gay community, and they're going to embrace me, and it's going to be great. And I was like, oh no, these people are not all nice. So you have to find your little nugget of tribe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And often that tribe might involve a lot of queers or women, and not necessarily a lot of the gay community.
No.
Especially in my position, but definitely it becomes something that's, what is that line from a Richard Bach novel, that rarely are members of one family born under the same roof. So the beauty is that we get to choose that family.
Yeah.
Now, when you're trying to choose it, and maybe if that family is what's led to Mansions and Mascara in a way.
I definitely think that Mansions and Mascara in a name is a dichotomy in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does that even have to do with each other? Mansions and Mascara, what does that even mean? Well, when I started that screen name, it was because I also own a real estate company. I'm a broker, and I have been the global creative director of a major cosmetic brand out of New York for many years, and on television around the world for them. And so I needed something that would make it make sense, Jesus. Because I needed to beat everybody to the joke. Because people would go, I'll never forget this one guy. He was a part of the legitimate equality community, LGBTQIA. So he said, so what do you not do? Real estate, makeup, television. What do you not do? And I just looked at him and didn't bat an eye and said, go broke. Because the truth of the matter is, and I shared this with you, I don't have a college degree. I'm a high school dropout because of, coming out early. And I kind of made my own path. And a lot of times at the time, it didn't make sense. It was windy, and I was doing all of these different things that didn't really cohese with each other. And then in hindsight, it makes complete sense, right? It's this, it just all kind of worked. And for whatever reason, many people from around the world, thanks to the power of social media, have embraced it. And so, but the name and the profession, the dichotomy of that is just a small part of it. Really, I am, you can put me on a farm and I can drive a tractor, I can chop down a tree, I can ride a horse, I can, all that kind of stuff. Or you can put me on a red carpet and on Park Avenue, and I'm great. And I've sometimes I kind of pinch myself and go, what is my life? Because I really went from that small town as a shampoo assistant at a little salon for a horribly mean woman who drank way too many Diet Cokes. to
Sounds like Trump.
be. It's not diet if you have 18.
Jesus.
I went from that to all of a sudden finding myself on television in Australia and New Zealand and Italy and Canada and the US, and I'm flying around and people are recognizing me, and I'm going, should I be here? Like, it's that imposter syndrome kind of feeling.
I don't know if you would have this syndrome, because I came up with someone I was speaking to that you should meet after the new year. Definitely have to.
Okay.
And I love what he said. He said, "Oh, I've never had imposter syndrome." Now, I'm sure that at some point in his life, he felt like he was faking it to make it.
I hate that term.
You do hate
I
that
do
term?
not use the term fake it to make it. I say that I believe it until I achieve it.
Amen. Believe it till you achieve it.
Because I've never
And you
faked anything.
Okay, there you go. And you make that shit happen.
Yeah.
In New York, you say, "Don't tell me no, baby. Make it happen."
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. But there are elements of time where I believe there are people who actually deal with the syndrome, and it really is a thing that it's been internalized for now going through therapy.
I still have
that.
I still have it. I have the life of my dreams, the love of my life. I'm just shy of 800,000 beautiful, amazing followers across all platforms, and they're so kind and so sweet, and they message me these inspiring stories about their life and their children and their friends, and I pinch myself. I wake up every day in this beautiful city. I love Barcelona. I love the people, the food, the atmosphere. There's just something. I mean, just the sounds in the morning, and kind of inspire me and energize me. So I about once a day, I will have the feeling of, is all of this going to go away? Is this real? I even called my partner. He's back in the United States, and I called yesterday, and I said, "This is really happening, right?" And he said, "Yeah, babe, this is real." I was like, "Okay," because I just need that reminder.
You might even be bringing doggies with you.
They're not even might. They're coming on. They're walking onto the.
I do.
Yeah, they're being certified as a service dog now because that's what my poodle is. My standard poodle, the big poodle, is for. And for
Does she
two
have
reasons.
all her hair, or is she shaved like a bush?
Shaved like a bush?
You remember how they would make him look like those bushes,
Yeah, that's what she looks like. She's a poodle. What do you want her to look like?
Because they don't do that here.
Rastafarian?
Poodles are full. They don't shave them.
Yeah,
here.
we're not doing that.
Oh, but it's so cute.
She's a poodle.
Oh, my God.
She's a poodle.
It is a very different thing in Europe with poodles. It's very different. You'll see what I mean.
That's fine. I'll find a groomer that will do what I want.
I want to ask you something, because we have to start wrapping up in just a sec, but because of what we talked about a little bit ago, with the things that you get to do with Match and Mascara, with the energy that you give out, and follow that on My Children of the Corn as well, Matchins and Mascara. Again, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. But you get that energy from those people as well. That's an inspiration.
I get stories all the time from people that, because I just try to put out little funny, quippy comments, like just something that makes people laugh. Or I just think right now we need laughs, we need smiles. So I just try to spread a lot of positivity on there. If I do get a little serious or political, I try to put a funny twist on it and make it more palatable. But the number of people that message me, I had a woman message me the other day that her husband had just been diagnosed with cancer, and it was the hardest 3 weeks of her life, and these were her words. She said, "Your page and my faith got me through the last 3 weeks." And I just sat there, and I'm getting kind of emotional now. Like, I just sobbed, because that was a very unintended consequence. I never thought that my spirit of positivity would I just thought maybe a few people would like my videos. I didn't think it would be a thing. But when people message me these things, or the father that has messaged me about having an LGBTQIA child, which learned a new term, dragon parent. Apparently they're very fiercely protective of their queer kids. For him to message me and say, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm straight, but I've got a daughter, or I've got a trans son, or I've got or I've got a lesbian child, and I love my child, and I love you, and I just want you to know that." That is so much positive energy that feeds your soul. I mean, it really does. My followers just make me feel like everything's going to be right with the world.
And that leads to the final question then, my love. If you could go back to your 16-year-old self to tell them something of an encouragement before the year that happened, what would you tell that? Because there are listeners who are young and going through something. What would you tell them if you could?
Oh. Just trust the process. Mm-hmm. That there is a place for you. Mm-hmm. You may not know it now, but there's a place for you in this world. And you belong, and you will contribute, and you will enjoy, and you will be loved.
Amen. And folks, that's what we're going to close it out with. That's a perfect, actually, holiday message, actually, from Mr. Christopher Mack and my beautiful Matches and Mascara. Give me that hand, man. That was such a beautiful way to close this out. Now, there's no way in hell that we're going to close it out without sending you a little bit of Christmas Kwanzaa love as well. Remember, folks, next week I'm going to be out of town, but the following we'll be back for our wrap-up for the new year. For the new year for this year as we enter the new year, and, of course, our Reyes show, which we do here. Remember, you can also follow the beauty of Mr. Christopher Mackin at Mansions and Mascara, Children of the Corn. That is, again, on
And you can
Instagram,
also go to
TikTok.
mansonsandmascara.com
as
if
well.
you would like to email me
Nice.
directly, and I actually respond to all of them.
Yes, he does. I can attest to that because we had an incredible lineup, and it's something we manifested a different change. And I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you
and we're
for
about to
having
embark on a lovely friendship in a new city for everybody to take advantage of. Now, folks, remember, COVID is everywhere, okay? No, I'm kidding. I want you to get out there and spread some love, spread some light, and make it real. Because remember, there's a whole lot more to this holiday season than just buying. Remember, guys, Jesus is the reason for this season. And I'm kidding.
Is she? I'm just teasing.
Oh, you silly. But also, there's no way in hell that we're going to close out without another song that you also chose. Now, this song is called Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up. Yeah! And this is from actually one of my this is shout out to my spirit mama, my mama's spirit, because she absolutely adored this man who is embroiled in some drama right now. But you know what, Garth Brooks, we love you and Trisha. And,
Trish. I feel like if you know her personally, she's Trish. She'll always be Trish to me. Hey, Trish.
I love it. We're actually going to tag that. All right, folks. Remember to keep it real, keep it love, and give love. Remember to love yourself as well. And if you have to look in the mirror and tell yourself that a few times a day, do it. It works eventually. All right. This is Garth Brooks with Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Come Up. This is The Club with Lucas here on 106.9 FM and English Radio BCN. And Mr. Christopher Mack and Matches and Mascara. Bye, everybody.